Have you ever been on vacation to another country where after a few days you start craving food from home? Now imagine you're 400 kilometers above Earth, where you can't order takeout or drive to the store, and you're stuck there for 180 days eating the same thing every day. That's what astronauts on China's Tiangong space station face. In November 2025, something happened that changed everything. What these astronauts did solves one of the biggest problems humans have faced in space for over 60 years, and it could be the key to sending people to Mars and beyond. So what's it actually like eating in space for months at a time? When John Glenn became the first American to eat in space in 1962, he squeezed applesauce from an aluminium tube similar to toothpaste directly into his mouth. And that was considered a success because scientists weren't even sure humans could swallow in zero gravity. The early astronauts hated their food because Mercury missions gave them bite-sized cubes of compressed food, freeze-dried powders that were difficult to rehydrate, and tubes of semi-liquids that they had to squeeze and suck, and nothing about it was appetizing. Gemini astronauts injected water into plastic bags to rehydrate freeze-dried meals and ate them cold. Apollo got hot water, which helped, but the food was still freeze-dried packages. The space shuttle brought menus with 74 foods, but everything was still dehydrated or pre-cooked in pouches. The ISS has over 200 items, and supply ships bring fresh fruit and vegetables that astronauts eat within 2 days before they spoil. But after that, it's back to reheated packages. Here's what people on Earth don't understand. Imagine coming home after a long day wanting a hot meal, maybe grilled chicken or steak, something that fills your home with delicious smells. Now imagine you're in a metal tube 400 kilometers up where you can't see family, can't visit restaurants, and every meal for 3 months comes from a plastic pouch you heat with water. You're longing for something real, something fresh, something that reminds you of home. But there's always been one problem nobody could solve. For 60 years, astronauts couldn't cook. They could only reheat packages. But why can't you just cook in space like on Earth? Well, on Earth, when you turn on an oven, hot air rises through convection, creating circulation that cooks food evenly, which is why you can roast chicken or bake cookies and they come out perfect. However, in space, without gravity, there's no up for hot air to rise toward, which means the hot air just sits there in one spot, causing food to cook completely unevenly, with some parts nearly raw and others burnt. Now, NASA tried to solve this in 2019 when they tested a prototype zero-G oven on the ISS that attempted to bake chocolate chip cookies. And the results were disappointing, because it took over 2 hours to bake a single cookie, showing that conventional heating methods simply don't work in microgravity. Smoke and grease are even worse, because in zero gravity they don't fall, they float around, getting into equipment and lungs. For decades, astronauts were told they'd never grill or roast in space. They'd always be limited to reheating. But China understood that if humans will ever live on the moon or travel to Mars for years, they need real food. Cooking in space was impossible because gravity makes ovens work. So what if you could make hot air move without gravity? It was November 1st, 2025, when the Shenzhou 21 crew arrived at Tiangong space station carrying something revolutionary in their cargo. The manifest listed it simply as experimental cooking equipment. But what it actually was would change everything about long-term space missions. Chinese engineers had designed a hot air oven specifically for zero gravity that works more like an air fryer than a traditional oven by using powerful fans to force hot air to circulate artificially around food, creating the convection that gravity normally provides. The device was built into a small cabinet-like compartment in the station's wall, and it operates at 190 degrees Celsius, which is 374 degrees Fahrenheit. That temperature is critical because it's hot enough to trigger the Maillard reaction, where proteins and sugars combine to create crisp browning and rich aroma. And previous space ovens could only reach 100 degrees Celsius, which meant they could only reheat food but never actually cook it. The oven achieves smokeless, oil-free operation through high-temperature catalysis and multi-layer filtration technologies that meet Tiangong's strict emission standards. And it was designed with full consideration of the station's power grid, so it doesn't stress the electrical systems. The device is certified for up to 500 uses and has been permanently integrated into Tiangong's systems. But the real question was, would it actually work? China built the first oven that could cook in zero gravity instead of just reheat. So, what did they cook first? Well, video footage from the Astronaut Center of China shows crew members from both Shenzhou 20 and Shenzhou 21 gathering around the new equipment with something nobody had ever seen on a space station before: fresh chicken wings. They secured the wings in a specially made grill cage before sliding it into the oven compartment, and then they waited. 28 minutes later, the wings came out perfectly cooked with golden, crispy skin that looked like something you'd get at a backyard barbecue on Earth. Commander Chen Dong and both crews tried the wings along with black pepper steak, and the difference from packaged food was incredible. This wasn't warm sustenance. This was real food that smelled good and tasted like home. Chinese social media compared the tube food from Shenzhou 5 to grilled wings in orbit, calling it proof of China's space progress. The menu expanded to 190 items with a 10-day cycle, and astronauts could now cook instead of just reheat. Professor Kang Guoha explained that a barbecue isn't just about appetite. It's how astronauts stay grounded psychologically during months of isolation. For the first time ever, astronauts grilled chicken wings in space just like Earth. But why does grilling chicken wings matter for Mars? Well, food is one of the few comforts in space, and cooking something that smells and tastes like home makes the difference between mission success and psychological decline. Mars missions will take 7 months each way plus service time, meaning 2 to 3 years away from Earth. NASA knew long missions need better food, but nobody solved cooking in zero gravity with safety standards until now. China's solution shows they're serious about permanent presence on the Moon and Mars, understanding that psychological well-being through good food matters as much as oxygen and water. A September 2025 report found China's space capabilities will likely overtake the US over the next decade. NASA's ISS retires around 2030, but Tiangong is just starting with plans for at least a decade more. While astronauts enjoyed their barbecue, something dangerous happened outside, showing why comfort and capability both matter. Cooking real meals solves the psychological challenge for long-term Moon and Mars missions. But an oven is useless if you run out of fresh ingredients millions of miles from home. To make the oven truly revolutionary, China integrated it with Tiangong's advanced space garden modules. While the Shenzhou 21 crew were grilling wings, they were also harvesting lettuce, cherry tomatoes, and green onions grown entirely in the station's hydroponic systems. This creates a farm-to-table cycle that was previously impossible. Astronauts aren't just opening a pouch, they are seasoning fresh-grown vegetables with the high heat sear of the new oven. By recycling 95% of the station's water and using high-efficiency LED lighting to mimic Earth's solar cycle, Tiangong has turned into a functional laboratory for self-sufficiency. China isn't just bringing Earth's food to space, they are building an ecosystem that can grow and cook its own. The grilled chicken wings and the fresh-picked greens represent the exact moment space stopped being a destination to survive and started being a place to live. When astronauts can grow their own ingredients and cook a meal that smells like home, the psychological barriers to Mars and the Moon begin to dissolve. This isn't just a technical win for China, it's a human one. It proves that we don't have to leave our humanity behind to explore the stars. By solving the simple, everyday problem of a hot meal, China has unlocked the door to the next 100 years of human expansion. The era of the astronaut is ending, and the era of the space citizen has begun. For 60 years, astronauts ate freeze-dried tubes and reheated packages because nobody could cook in zero gravity. From Glenn's applesauce tube in '62 to ISS cookies taking 2 hours in 2019, space food was survival, not enjoyment. In November 2025, China changed everything aboard Tiangong. People watched this to understand why eating in space is terrible, why cooking was impossible, and what breakthrough solved the 60-year problem. China built a zero-gravity oven using forced air that grilled chicken wings in 28 minutes. Space agencies focus on keeping astronauts alive with oxygen and nutrition, but China recognized thriving needs more than survival. Long missions need psychological comfort, food that reminds them of home, and hot-cooked meals after months of packages. Grilling chicken wings proves China understands what humans need for permanent moon presence, Mars survival, and future exploration. While others focus on rockets and robots, China solves human problems that determine whether people can live in space long-term. That's why those chicken wings represent something bigger than a meal. The future of space belongs to whoever makes it livable, and China just showed they're leading.